Welcome back to the Mottie Hour. Idle Prep here, and we are back with another episode. In this episode, this is a very, very special part 2 of Making Mistakes on the Lake. So basically, this is a continuation of Making Mistakes on the Lake part 1. So it was a very spontaneous episode, very short, I know for a fact, only about 15 minutes because there's a reason why. I'll get to it in just a sec. But this second part, I actually want to culminate for the rest of the time. So Mottie Hour minus 15 minutes. So it's going to be about a 45-minute episode, as I would like to think, just to talk about my experience over at Great Lakes Mall in Mentor, Ohio for the DANCERUSH Stardom freestyle division. So yeah, we're going to get into it. So without further ado, let's bring the house down. So let's just talk about my overall experience during Mistake on the Lake. Overall, I had a great time. I met a lot of really cool people in the DanceRush community, putting faces to Discord usernames from the DanceRush Stardom Discord server, which you guys should totally join, discord.gg/dancerush. Once again, discord.gg/dancerush. And meeting with people, networking with people, and basically sharing the love for this game. I mean, this game's been out for 5 years now, and seeing all this growth due to the internet and social media is nothing but amazing to see this community in the statesides, and especially in the Western Hemisphere, especially here in the United States. And not only with us, I've been seeing people over in Europe. Like, shout out to London Dance Rush crew. You guys rock, for one thing. But back to my overall experience of Mistake on the Lake. Outside the competition, it was just nothing but fun. Straight up fun, seeing people from all over the country, and also meeting Kesh. Kesh, really wonderful dude. And also meeting Woomy from the Dallas-Fort Worth Dance Rush crew, and also meeting Cookie from the Florida episode. If you guys haven't checked out the Florida episode, definitely go check that out. Finally meeting everyone that I've been talking to through the Mottie Hour and also through Discord and all that stuff, it just feels very culminating to me. Again, for those who don't know, I've been playing DanceRush for about a year, starting in late July of 2022. And when I'm recording this is the middle of November. And when I'm recording this, it's basically almost a month since Mistake on the Lake. And honestly, overall, it's been a surreal experience. So I'm going to move on over to the competitive side. So this has a lot of baggage, but not really, I do like to say, but let's just get into it. So training for this. This was really the most difficult part of pre-competition. So for those who don't know, I go to school in Connecticut. I go to school where it's 10 minutes away from the downtown New Haven area. And unfortunately, round 1 Danbury Fair has not opened yet. It's supposed to open in the third quarter of 2024 for round 1's fiscal year. So that would be around after December into January 2024. So my training entailed basically shuffling in my garage, shuffling in the parking lot. I mean, that's fine and all, but as a rhythm gamer, you see those DDR players going to round 1s every week, training and also getting the sensitivity of the pad and all that stuff. So that's one thing I was just thinking about for the past couple of weeks post Mistake on the Lake. It's just with training and all that stuff, it's just very difficult. But luckily, for those who don't know, I placed 9th place in Pool B, 23rd overall out of the 32 competitors, which is for my first rhythm game competition. That is sure a pat on the back for myself. But going forward, I mean, I don't think this will be a road bump in the end because I'll be back in New York doing my thing, all that stuff. And it's just it was a very difficult barrier that I had to hop over. Training aside though, I changed my song pick too many times. So in the summer, after I registered, my original pick, fun fact, this might be a spoiler for future to come, but my first original pick for Mistake on the Lake 5 was Anthurium by Blackie featuring Riza Yuzuki, which is from the recent DDR crossover event or Discovery mission now. So, the original storyline is I am representing someone from that I read in a New York Times article. During the COVID pandemic, he lost their romantic partner. And during the COVID pandemic, he wanted to dedicate this dance in honor of their soul. And I kind of whipped off that and also did some research, some scholarly research about like Dance for Loved Ones that over in Europe, also in some African countries as well. So I did a little research about that for this original freestyle. And the reason why I kind of bailed out on it is because it's technically a brand new song, and in a way, if you don't count Sparkfest, however. But also B, I felt like for this was a little bit too fast. And also C, it's coming from DDR. So I kind of felt very uneasy about it. So my second pick, which was actually funny because Point Prince actually did this at the competition, was Love You, but Mottie Sound Team, KU. So same concept and all that stuff. But I really wanted to push myself to the limit to do a level 9 instead of a level 8. So that's where my freestyle that you guys see on the stream, You Take My Soul by Sun, was entailed. So basically, remember what I said about the scholarly research about Dances for Loved Ones and that New York Times article about the COVID pandemic dancer who honored a dance for his romantic partner that passed away? I scrapped everything of that. So the inspiration for my freestyle for You Take My Soul, also shout out to Panotes. I don't know if I'm saying your dancer name right. He also did the same one. Completely blown my version of You Take My Soul out of the water. He got 4th in Mistake in the Lake, by the way. But anyways, I digress about that. Homies in the end. But anyways, so I basically scrapped everything from the previous freestyle that I had in mind. So I started it from a clean slate. And basically, I wanted to talk more about in the realms of books like Dante's Inferno, also like the embodiment of the devil, and also the figures of death. So if you actually saw very closely in my freestyle, like my costume wise, I know I looked very spooky with all the ash, the blood, and all that stuff, but on my baseball cap, I have an embroidered Grim Reaper. So with the You Take My Soul freestyle, I kept elements from the Ethereum freestyle, well, ultimately, the lost loved one concept. Like, I'm somewhere in the not too distant future, I lost my romantic partner due to something. Could be an accident. I didn't want to really expose much about that, but the concept of losing a loved one was still in the docket for this freestyle. And then I was tinkering around with the storyline of like death comes up to me, pleads me a deal in order to reunite with my romantic partner. Death needs to take my soul. And basically, I wanted You Take My Soul to be an embodiment of the fight with death, because me as this person throughout the story is very in denial, going through the 5 stages of grief. Because keep in mind, this death of this romantic partner was very, very recent. And then after that, everything just went to shit. Like, this guy lost his job, he lost his house, he's basically just recently got evicted, and he just lost everything. Like, he lost everything to keep him stable. His mental health has just been draining. So that's pretty much about the backstory about that. And I want to give next my ultimate reflection about that freestyle in general. So going into the tournament, my main goal was, since this was a brand new like type of rule where it divided into 2 16 pools, my main goal was to make top 10. And it'd be nice if I made top 5, but that was kind of a bit of stretching it. And ultimately putting the New York dance rush community on the map. And luckily, I fulfilled my 2 queries by placing 9th in my pool, top 25 overall out of 32 participants, which is just straight up amazing. So I fulfilled my queries on that. But moving on to my freestyle is I was a little bit critical about it. So originally I was going to have props for You Take My Soul. So remember the Anthurium that was originally for Anthurium, unironically? So I burnt some fake Anthurium for this freestyle, but unfortunately, due to me forgetting, I did not get those props approved prior to that. So I mean, I'm not really dwelling on it or beating myself up about it. It was just like, damn, I just wish I reminded myself to like tell the TL like, hey, I'm using these props. I'm just gonna be throwing them into the crowd, like in the middle of the freestyle. Is this cool? So that's where one thing kind of went south, and what I could have worked on. So definitely one thing is tell your TOs if you're using props for your Dance Rush freestyle, tell them way early in advance. Because I just initially forgot. And I just feel a little stupid that I forgot. And had to call the audible to scrap the props and try to do something with my arms, but just communication is key. Second thing is I've been looking at the VOD a lot lately just to like evaluate myself. Like I have an understanding of the fundamentals of shuffling or shuffle dance in general, like running man, T-steps, Charlestons, and all that stuff. But I looked at it a couple of times and it's just like I want to nail my running mans. I want to nail these T-steps. Like I know the concepts, but I just want to take it a little bit of a step up. I want to give a shout out to everyone that I talked to throughout that whole weekend, exposing me to new styles such as like the Malaysian running man, also like helping me get better with poly pocket or diagonal running man in the East Coast starting crew, and just like exposing me to new styles and just experimenting with styles. And that's something I want to go forward into 2024 whenever there's going to be my first Dance Rush tournament for that year. So yeah. So back to that point. It was just like I did good, but I can definitely do better. So in terms of like the fundamentals and stuff, like I just gotta home that in and just like be good at it. Simply. And ultimately, since this is gonna be a now new thing with my life in terms of dancing, because now that the college marching band arc has been over 9 years in the making, I need something to fulfill that hole in my life. So definitely gonna get down on those basics for sure when playing Dance Rush again. And then overall is just a whole stamina game in the end. Because I felt towards the last part of my freestyle, it's just like I felt sluggish. Well, it couldn't help because we started late. That there was nothing that we can do about it. It was nothing in control. Stuff happens, shit happens, you know? It's just like stamina is going to be my number one enemy and also my number one friend at the same time. It's just like I've done a lot of physical activity with marching band. It's just like with shuffle dance, it's a little bit more demanding. I haven't done something like this cardio active in a while. So just to give a little background about me and about my personal life is with the marching arts, I did something called drum and bugle corps. So if you know, you know. That's very physically active. And I did a couple of years of track and field in high school. So that's a lot of running and all that stuff. So very similar pathways in terms of shuffle dance, in terms of cardio. I feel like I can take now until mistake on the like 6 to improve my cardio stamina, like whether hitting the gym, running a mile, 2 miles, or basically just doing my shuffling sessions with my friends in a studio or outside just to like focus on stamina. Like want to push through all the way to the end of whatever chart that I play for my next freestyle. And you're probably asking me, Idol, what's in it for next year? So the initial plan as of right now, November 16th, 2023, I am planning to compete on Mistake on the Lake 6, do a totally different freestyle that some people might be seeing at MagFest. So if you're at MagFest, no spoilers, please. And also, I'm trying to also compete at Eclipse 2024 once those things get announced. And whatever Dance Rush Freestyle tournament pops up in 2024, I will do my best as humanly possible to be there. Because that's just the way things are now. I'm in that Dance Rush grind. So that's my plans for next year. And another thing I do want to mention is after my experience of Mistake in the League 5 and now seeing my friends compete at Eclipse East 2023 in December, it's just like I want to get into that experience of running a Dance Rush tournament, being an event or tournament organizer, because I do have experiences in helping with events with school and all that stuff, and being basically a student representative for my program and all that stuff. And I just want to get more of my feet wet in terms of being a tournament organizer and all that stuff. So maybe next year, 2024, 2025, or years to come, and basically run the show and get more tournaments up in the Northeast. Because I, for one, do not want to mention what happened in the past couple of weeks, dude, with KAC, but I'm not going to really say much about that. But if you saw my Twitter, I wanted to have this movement where we grow grassroots rhythm game tournaments here in stateside, and especially here up in the Northeast, because the only big rhythm game tournaments that are available to us on the East Coast is Arcade Olympics, held by Arcade Monsters, which is basically not only a rhythm game tournament, but also like a esports like tournament where they have like Mario Kart and also some fighting games and all that stuff, just to name a couple of things. And then Eclipse, obviously, with their DDR, Step Maniacs, In the Groove, Dance Rush Freestyles. And with that, that's the only two tournaments that I know from my knowledge. And then also to mention this new tournament over in Exton, Pennsylvania, which is called Southeast Pennsylvania Timing Attack, or SEPTA, which is going to be held in February 3rd of next year, which is basically going to be a Pump Division, DDR, Sound Voltex, and Beat Media 2DX. So that's going to be a brand new tournament that's coming next year. So I feel like this could be a great start to growing more tournaments in the East Coast, more rhythm game tournaments, and I would like to see more Dance Rush tournaments happening on a yearly basis. And one thing I'd like to mention as well, because Abby, the owner of Snow Phoenix, so for context, Snow Phoenix is basically import arcade company that brings like arcade rhythm games like and all that stuff to like conventions like MagFest, Otakon, KatsuCon, like all those like conventions. Abby said this to one of my replies. And basically what they said is, let's not forget the conventions that have these rhythm games as well. Like, I would love to see more conventions with rhythm games, like, especially with those big conventions, like big major conventions, like San Diego Comic-Con, Anime NYC, New York Comic-Con, just to name a few. Like, that's another way how us Americans get into these rhythm games, because we see it at a convention. And to see more of those conventions with those rhythm games, and more specifically Dance Rush, that's another gateway with growing our community, and also with the interest of having more rhythm game tournaments here in the States as well. And I'm just going to reiterate my point here from episode 1. The reason why I started this podcast is ultimately to grow the Dance Rush community across the United States and hopefully across the globe, for people who are listening and for those who have an arcade like in their area, but they don't have Dance Rush. Maybe this could spark something in their area. Hopefully, get some arcade owners to like get some money to buy a Dance Rush cap, even though it's kind of a bit expensive and kind of backordered right now because of how high demand these cabs are. It's just like I want to help grow this community in America, and hopefully, this podcast can expand the love for this game. But back to the overall weekend of Mistake on the Lake. I know that was a little bit of a big tangent for myself in terms of my performance, in terms of the freestyle. But again, here's to next year for Mistake on the Lake 6. I'll be plotting right now, as I say to some people in the DANCERUSH Stardom Discord server. But I digress about that. But yeah, it was a really fun weekend, like outside the tournament, just hanging out with all the competitors and basically everyone from across the country, and just like having fun, playing Dance Rush, hanging out with Kesh, hanging out with Woomy, and ultimately having fun for that weekend because I recently just turned 21. So that was a really fun birthday experience for myself, and I would definitely love to do it again. Like, Mistake on the Lake is very fun. Like, get to see the people that you meet in your community, putting names to faces, and also meeting some of the best rhythm gamers in the world. Like, who would have thought myself meeting Chris Chike, one of the best DDR players in the whole world? Like, that just feels so surreal to me. Like, seeing, like, Prodigy, Harujin winning DDR doubles right in front of me, and also seeing a thing that I underappreciated a lot is something called DDR Freestyles, basically Dance Rush's predecessor. After watching DDR Freestyles that night after the Dance Rush freestyle competition, just seeing all these freestyles on 4 panels, I have a more appreciation of the art, and also want to give a shout out to all the friends and family over at Freestyle Takeover. Y'all are amazing, and I love you guys so much. And I hope you guys are listening to this, because I think if it wasn't for the DDR freestyles back into like when DDR was straight up fresh off the boat with Third Mix, Max, and all the way until like Supernova, if I recall correctly. Like, if it wasn't for like seeing those like old videos from the 2000s, seeing people freestyle to like these old DDR songs, I don't think Dance Rush would exist because of the DDR freestyle community. Because with that and Dance Rush, there's like so much crossover of what people do in terms of both freestyle agendas. And it's really cool to see that art is still alive, like how Dance Rush is going 5 years strong, going into 6 in 2024, and seeing this community grow thanks to TikTok, thanks to the internet, and thanks to word of mouth as well. Because, heck, talking about this game, it spreads like wildfire, for sure. But overall, I'm like very grateful for the people that I met that weekend, and just like seeing all these rhythm gamers into one spot. One of the best, like how to say it, like couple one of the best rhythm games in the world, with whether it's DDR, Sound Voltex, Beatmania 2DX, Gitadora, whether it's for drum freaks or guitar freaks. Like, seeing all of us come together and having fun playing rhythm games and dance games, it's just truly amazing, and I am forever honored to be a part of this community. And I really look forward to next year for Mistake on the Lake 6 to see returning faces, new faces, all that jazz and all that stuff. And perhaps even Eclipse East in 2024 once those things get announced. Like, it's just amazing how this community grows by the year. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it. But just to conclude everything that happened with Mistake on the Lake, after 1 month of just having it sit with me, it's been nothing but rewarding to be there, to represent New York, to represent the Mottie Hour, to represent myself as a Dance Rush player and ultimately a rhythm gamer, and also to ultimately represent something that I love. Even though I've only been playing it for a year, it's not necessarily a hobby anymore. It's more of a lifestyle. And as some people say to me, once you start, you can basically cannot stop unless if you have to, due to physical issues or that. But anyways, I'm just very grateful and honored to represent the New York Dance Rush crew, to represent myself, to represent as the main guys that you listen to here on the Mottie Hour, and to meet all you guys. I have just like new friends across the country now, which is basically insane that I chat to on an occasional basis, whether it's in the DANCERUSH STARDOM Discord server or when I'm interviewing people here on the Mottie Hour itself, reuniting with people over Discord, and just like it's great to see that this community is very close knitted and very tight. And no matter what skill level you are, no matter how far you drive to a round one or how you get access to Dance Rush, we all, but nothing, nevertheless, share the love for this game. And I know for a fact, thanks to this year's run of Mistake on the Lake 5, I know for a fact that Mistake on the Lake 6 is nothing to be messed with. Because in one of our group chats, Ijikin said someone compared this to the upbeat for Dance Rush. And yes, that is a really big deal. For those who don't know, Upbeat is a yearly Dance Dance Revolution tournament held in Denver, Colorado in the Midwest, the Midwest. And you get big players that play in Upbeat. And being compared to like something like that is just like, when you think about it, that's huge. And I mean, though what happened that night, I wanted to throw that all away. But nothing for this weekend is just nothing but amazing meeting everyone and just making content with everybody. So just to wrap up with this episode, I want to give a big thanks to Ijikin, who basically organized this whole thing for Mistake in the Lake 5 DANCERUSH STARDOM freestyles. You've also might seen him uploading the new charts over on his YouTube channel, and Ijikin's a homie, and I can't thank him enough for putting this all together. And us as a Dance Rush community, we all love him. And I also want to give a shout out to the guest judges for this year. Woomy, she's great. She's awesome. From the Dallas Fort Worth Dance Rush crew, Texas represent. To the homie Cookie, one of my favorite cat gift spammers. You've seen him on the Florida episode. He's awesome. He's amazing. But most importantly, I do want to give a shout out to Keshki. Keshki, you all know him. He's a KAC finalist, and he flew all the way from Thailand to hang out with us with all that weekend. And if you saw my video of the Chapter 2 train with Keshki, and you seen Point Prince doing the Wojak Pog point when Keshki goes on at the same time of the video, that's something I don't want to forget. And ultimately, I want to give a shout out to all the competitors, all the 31 competitors that I hung out with for the night, whether they come from all the way to the west, all the way from the east, whether it's from New York, Mass, Massachusetts, I say Mass for short, Florida, or just even near the Chicago area, or even being a local in Ohio. You guys are just nothing but amazing, and meeting you guys was so much fun to be around and just like chatting about life and this game. And having this event being down in the history books for rhythm games is just so surreal. So everything about that weekend is just like nothing but amazing. And I do want to mention one thing. I apologize for the very, very short episode of Making Mistakes on the Lake Part 1 because it was a hectic night. A lot of stuff happened. And I wanted to focus more on the competition. And it was my first one. So, and also, note to self, kids, on the go podcasting is hard. And I will try to figure it out for the next on the go podcasting episode for the Mottie Hour, which is the one in question, the MagFest episode. And it was just a lot that night, but stuff happens in the end. But at least with this episode, you kind of get a little bit of the extra insight of me and my experience at Mistake on the Lake 5. So I kind of made up for it. So hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of the Mottie Hour. I know I said a lot of stuff here, but I want to say thank you to everyone who supported me during this whole process, whether if you're very close with me, whether it's family, friends, I want to just say thank you. And for those who are my internet mutuals that follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, that shebang, hope to see you at Mistake on the Lake 6. If you haven't joined the DanceRush Stardom Discord server, make sure you join it up at discord.gg/dancerush. Once again, discord.gg/dancerush. We have a ton of people that are active every single day. You can talk about the game, talk about anything, talk about other games. You can see local DanceRush players from your round one or local arcade. You can post scores. You can post video performances. You can literally find what songs you want to unlock. And most importantly, funny cats. Who doesn't love funny cats? I love posting my cat gifs and also my DanceRush performances. But yeah, definitely go and join that out. We're just fun to be around. And if you haven't checked out the first couple of episodes of the Mottie Hour with my interviews with the East Coast Stardom crew, the DMV Maryland crew, and the Sunshine State Shufflers, definitely go check them out. And most importantly, check out the first part of Making Mistakes on the Lake. If there's a guest that you want to see on the Mottie Hour podcast or a DanceRush community that you would like to see, hit me up at the Mottie Hour on Instagram. And also, I take emails, themotiehour@gmail.com. Once again, themotiehour@gmail.com. And if you like what you're listening on the Mottie Hour, please give this podcast a follow. Make sure you rate, and also let me know what you want to see next on the Mottie Hour. Well, thank you guys for joining for me this special episode of Mistake on the Lake for the Mottie Hour. Here's to next year, and catch you guys next time.